All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mastermind Mixer for 2023. This is the first one. Very exciting. I'm Greg Warner. I'm the CEO and founder of MarketSmart. For those of you who don't know me or haven't met me yet, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go over some quick housekeeping and then I'm going to get into a little presentation. I'm excited. I have some new things. Let me actually make this share slideshow. All right, housekeeping. So keep in mind that anybody with your cause, including board members, any other staff, can all attend these events every month. We'll send out reminders. You can forward your reminder, tell them to put it on their monthly calendar. Just keep coming whenever you can make it. It's fine. And plus anybody in your organization, if you signed up for the e-course, if you're here due to that, don't forget that it's one flat fee, that e-course, and anybody in your institution or organization can take the e-course. So like the more people that take it, then the cost per person just goes down and down and down. All right. So you will, yeah. Okay. So feel free to share the meeting link with any of your friends, your volunteers, things like that, board members. And I guess there's a note here that I'm supposed to remind people that it's an annual subscription because I think we just had some renewals happen and a couple of people were like, I didn't know it was an annual subscription for the e-course. So, all right. If also you decide that you would like to learn more about MarketSmart, you're not already a customer, just go to our main website and click get a demo. Let's talk. We'd love to talk to you. Don't worry. There's never any pressure or anything in our sales process. And okay, so with that, we're going to go into the e-course content, and we're going to especially talk about taking the position as the donor's guiding sage and how to do that. Okay, so if you've gotten this far in the course, you will recognize the term guiding sage, but I'm going to kind of do a little exit here and go to a different slide deck that I think will make a little bit more sense for folks. So if you've even dipped your toes into the course at all, and remember there's the fast track version, which is only about 2.5 hours total. I think maybe it's 20 videos, short videos. And then there's Dr. James' version, which is a lot longer. I think it's 24 hours of content. So I highly recommend doing the fast track, if especially that gives you an overview of everything without as much deep scientific gobbledygook, as I might call it. Hopefully that's not insulting Dr. James, but okay. So Dr. James is talking about the hero story for advancement. He says at the beginning of his books and in the course, he says, our goal is to advance the donor's hero story. If that's what we're focused on throughout our engagements with donors, if we're keeping that top of mind always and forever, our job is to help the donor advance in their own hero story. And that means basically they want to gain a victory and they want to feel the victory and the enhanced identity either internally or be known for it externally through gaining notoriety, or their family sees they're a philanthropic person and such. So that's the key. Dr. James starts off the course saying that's the one thing. If you can remember that one thing, then he's really accomplished something. The way he describes it, and I of course have different slides than him, is he looks at the hero's journey and the story arc, and encourages you to recognize that each donor has an original identity, which is why they care about the cause. It could be a professor that changed their life. It could be a nurse that saved their life. It could be a scholarship they were awarded. I mean, everybody has that original identity, but most people are not walking around thinking about it very much. And even when they're giving, they're not, it's kind of in their subconscious. Now, when it comes to the raising of major gifts, especially, there needs to be a challenge. And that is usually a call to adventure. a call to adventure. When I first started reading his stuff, I thought that the challenge was the solicitation. Like that's when we asked them for money. But oh, I was so wrong. The challenge happens so much earlier in the process, and I'm going to be calling it an invitation because I think that's a little more friendly and warm and snuggly. A challenge, I get it. It makes sense for Dr. James speak, but for my purposes and what we're talking about today, I'm going to be calling it an invitation to go on a journey with you as the fundraiser, whereby the donor can gain a victory that will enhance their identity, right? The better the victory, the greater the journey, the better, the more enhanced identity, the larger the gift, especially if they have capacity. So you could think about the original identity in the story arc to be kind of like the backstory and the setting, while the challenge, the invitation, is this inciting incident to go off on the adventure. And then the adventure happens, and ultimately in every great movie, you know, if you've seen the new Top Gun and all that, there's a climax, and then there's the resolution where the heroes return. They get to go back to their tribe, if you will, their community as a enhanced, better person. They bring back the jewels or the rewards to the community they love. So Dr. James talks about it in different movies, but we all, especially if you've ever watched Star Wars, it's like the most clear description of this. And there's a backstory, there's the setting with the characters involved in the story. And then this inciting incident is really when essentially the droid, Princess Leia pops out. She says, Obi-Wan, you've got to help me. You're my only hope, you know? And Obi-Wan knows that Luke is supposed to be the one. So he says to Luke, come with me on an exciting adventure and let's go destroy the Empire. And Luke's a farmer, and he's basically says, are you kidding me? I'm not going anywhere. So what that teaches us is most of the time, a supporter, a donor is probably going to tell you no on the first time that you invite them to go on the journey with you. Not most of the time, but many times, many times. You have to be ready for that and understanding about it. But then what happened was, and that's the inciting incident, he's saying, let's go on that journey, right? And then, so the timing wasn't right for Luke, but then his parents, not his parents, sorry, his aunt and uncle were killed, his home was destroyed, there's nothing left for him on this planet. He decides, okay, I'm going to go off, we're going to defeat the Empire, blow it up, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to get our prize, right? And that's what happened. I mean, these are the pictures from the movie. What we're going to talk about today is this inciting incident, you know, this invitation, because, and I was talking to Dr. James about this last Friday. I said, you know, love you, man, but you didn't exactly go into in your training how to do the invitation, how to invite a donor to go on this journey to the world of wealth sharing, as he calls it. So that's what we're going to focus on, because I think, and I've been told by people that I'm working on with this more closely, is that if you do the inciting incident, if you do the challenge, if you invite your supporters into a journey with you to the land of wealth sharing, if you do that well, properly, transparently, in a fair way, everything changes. And you may not, in many cases, I'm told, you won't even ever have to do a high pressure, high wire act of solicitation, because they're already in the journey. They know they're going to be solicited. So let me get into it and explain that this is part of a new operating system, if you will, that I've been developing over almost the past 2 years now, partly with Dr. James and some others. But I basically feel that the way that advancement shops have been running is kind of like on DOS for too long, and it puts too many fundraisers in positions where they can't succeed, and too few people in organizations and institutions understand what the heck they do, the time it takes, and how it gets done, and really don't understand the position or the perspective of the donor. A lot of what I've seen in terms of advancement operations is pretty much the same for the past 10, 20, 50 years. So I felt that it's time for an upgrade, and I developed it. We're testing it out with some customers right now. Dr. James says I Dr. Seussed it. So if you know Dr. Seuss, he said, oh, because I broke it down. I said, look, it's really, you got to basically do these three things. It's more complicated than that, but for simplicity's sake, there's pre-qualification, which if you're a customer, that's essentially what we do for you. We help, I don't even like to say identify, we help qualify people for outreach. And then there's complete qualification, which is what you will do, and I'll talk about that for a minute. And then there's caseload management, which I'm not really going to get into today, but that needs to be upgraded just like the rest of the systems. I think personally there's too much targeting and prospect research with quantitative data and just looking for capacity, and not enough qualitative data and qualification before making outreach. I don't like the targeting, especially me as a donor, and I think the donors don't either. So in fact, I know it. So that's why I've developed this system. Like I said, it was developed by me, but it's with the help of some others. And actually, there's a pile of books over here on the floor. I probably read 20,000 pages of stuff and talked to other people too. So I'm testing this out with people. It's all because I want to help you be the fundraiser you always wanted to be. And frankly, I think you deserve a better system. So that's what I'm trying to develop right now. Let me tell you real quickly about the pre-qualification stage, which is essentially what MarketSmart does. And it's a pentagon because there's just 5 components to it. And the idea is that you want to pre-qualify people for outreach. Prospect identification is not the same as pre-qualification. Just because they're identified and you think maybe they have capacity and maybe some affinity based on quantitative data, that's not the same as a donor saying that the timing is right for them, which is, of course, what we capture in surveys and also through the clicks that we monitor of their engagement with our automation. So when they say that they're considering giving now, or they've disclosed that they left a legacy gift already or expressed interest in talking to you, that means the timing's right. And that's check the box. Do they have a real serious reason to give? Did they tell you their story? We see it all the time. You probably do in your dashboard. People tell you amazing stories. Sometimes you almost want to cry. If they did that, or they ranked your cause as being high, or like that for future generations, they feel that your mission is of utmost importance or close to that, that's a good reason. If they have engaged, like they completed the survey, maybe they volunteered, they subscribed to our automation, things like that, that means that's another check on your list. If they gave you permission to engage them further through opting in for cultivation in our system, or signal that they want to talk to you, or even set an appointment. Like if you have our add-on effort, our extra app, if you will, that's called the door opener effort. If you have our door opener, you probably have already experienced that people will just set appointments with you, which is fun, and then finally there's capacity. Do they have capacity? And we don't look at that from wealth screening because we find it highly speculative, but we do look at it based on what the donor says and whether or not they're signaling interest in a major gift of assets. and that can include a legacy gift. It might also include your wealth screening score. I just worry about that because that's not from the donor. That's just quantitative data, and sometimes can lead you on a wild goose chase. I think it's additive, but so those are the 5 pieces of how we determine using our system. And even if you don't use our system, if you want to do it on your own, if you're not a customer, you need to have a preliminary qualification methodology for determining when people are ready, so that you're not making cold calls, you're making warm calls, or in fact, inbound, they're just setting up appointments with you. So that leaves the complete qualification, which includes this invitation or call to adventure that I'm going to talk about. And that's a square because that's only got 4 components. So complete qualification includes making the outreach. Like, of course, you can't completely qualify someone if you don't actually reach out to them. You have to conduct some additional discovery. And then that's where you find their original identity. You really dig deeper than what you got in the survey or from their click habits. But their original identity at a high level just includes their affinity, their timing, and their capacity. And as Dr. James talks about affinity in the course, he says it's really 3 things. It's their history, their people, and their values. It's that simple. Why do they care? What's their story? That's their history. Their people, that's their tribe. Who inspired them to give? Who, or are they doing it to be a good sort of like role model for their children? Those are their people. And then what are their values? Because if you don't understand their values, then they don't, frankly, I should say, they need to understand their values so that they can work with you properly to align what they care about. That's also in line with their history and their people, to find meaning in their own life through giving. Now, of course, timing is essential. If their mom is sick right now, or their kids, they're moving their kids into college or something, that's not going to work either. So they won't be completely qualified. Maybe you'll complete the discovery later, or they won't be ready for your invitation. That's good to know. So timing is essential in the discovery process as a component for complete qualification. And finally, there's capacity. And Dr. James talks a lot about this in the course, and we do, of course, in the fast track. So how do you really find out if someone has capacity? Because most wealth is going to be hidden, and then I can just share it with you. And also, there's this growing group of people, these millionaires next door, these people that just have so much money coming out of their ears and their eyeballs, but you can't see it because they drive the old, Oldsmobile that they've had for 18 years, and they're just not. They don't live in a fancy house, and they don't go to a fancy country club. This is the growing cohort of wealth in America is first generation wealthy people. These are not the age-old cartoon of what you imagine when you think about wealthy people. And that only makes it harder for you to discern. So you have to learn how to have wealth conversations or ask them questions in certain ways. And Dr. James includes these in the course of how to ask these questions to really discern whether they have capacity and if they're interested in using that capacity to help others so they can find meaning in their life for their people and to align with their values. Okay, so that's all just gearing up to get you to the point where we talk about this call to adventure. And I'm not beating up on Dr. James. I'm just saying that his course didn't really include what I'm about to tell you right now. And this is, I believe, the most important part of your job, frankly. And probably nobody does it, or very few do it, but I'm interested to hear when we break out into groups if you do and how you do it. But the invitation is a call to adventure, but one in which you're going to invite the donor to gain alignment with you, your organization, your staff, your mission. gain alignment in a way where you can work together with them on a gift that they'll find has great value for them. Okay. Inviting someone into this journey, this episode of their life, is done all the time by a certain group of professionals, several groups of professionals like lawyers, doctors, CPAs, wealth managers, especially family shops, they know how to take the position with confidence, and they just do it automatically. It's a position of authority, but gentle authority. I mean, if you think about it, doctors do it like, I mean, you go to the doctor's office and they tell you to like take off your clothes and put on a smock. I mean, what kind of authority? They have unbelievable control. You just walk in there and they tell you what to do and you do that. Amazing, right? Okay, so maybe don't tell your donors to take off their clothes, please. We have enough trouble. But you should take the position as their counselor, their guiding sage, and you deserve to do it because you're not a solicitor. You're not a beggar. You're a counselor. Only you know your organization the way you do. Only you know how to counsel someone. Only you have spent time with many, many, many donors, and their wealth manager hasn't. Their doctor, their lawyer, their CPA haven't. You're a specialist and they need you. So you've got to take that position. And I'm going to show you how in a minute, as a guide and sage. And you have to invite them into a process in a transparent way so that they're like, I get it. There's no games. All the other fundraisers ambushed me. And I wasn't ready. And so I gave them some money, but then it was so uncomfortable. No, we don't want that. We want them to know, no, we're going on a journey together. We're going to work on this gift together, but I have to confirm some expectations with you, the most important of which is this process generally takes at most 24 months. Jim Langley, if you know Jim Langley and see him posting on LinkedIn, he says on average it's 21 months. He worked at Georgetown for like 30 years, Georgetown University. I think he knows. The process is going to take as much as 24 months. And you have to explain to them that you really don't think it should take longer. And it's kind of expected that you, forgive the French, you shit or get off the pot. I mean, that's fair. And I'll explain why in a second. You may, it's in a different color, offer them a menu to provide feedback on either programs and initiatives, and also on giving tools and amounts that might fit what they're thinking about early on. That depends, but you might offer them those kind of menus early on. So let me wrap up, and then we're going to break into groups. Talking about this invitation in sales, by the way, and many of you know that I've been a student of sales since I was 12, when my dad skipped out and I started working essentially by knocking on doors. So I know something about sales. And in sales, and the fundraising is the same. You've got to have an upfront contract with people. You've got to have respect. You've got to, think of it like a professional statement of work, perhaps. You've got to delineate the boundaries. So the invitation, and by the way, I've got this little brochure kind of thing. I don't recommend a very glossy brochure that outlines any of this, but I do recommend that you bring it in a printed form and you go through these 10 components. You might not be able to get to all 10, but once the outreach has been made, you've done the discovery, you've got a little bit of a relationship, you sense that they want to learn more, and then you're going to go through this process, maybe not all 10 components, but you're going to try and hit as many of them as possible. You ready? Let's nod some heads, a couple. Okay, yeah, I see some smiles, good. 10. So the first, you got to explain who the heck you are. You're a stranger. They love your mission, but you're a stranger to them as a human being. So they may love your brand and feel trusting of your brand and your organization and the mission and the past history they've had with it. But you're a different story. So you got to explain who you are, a little bit about your resume, where you've worked, why do you love this job, things like that. Then explain, what do you do for people like them? You help them find meaning in their life through connecting their values to programs and initiatives and so on, right? You've got to think that through. And by the way, I have all this written out in an actual like brochure copy that I can send to you. Just email me or send to info@iMarketSmart, and we'll send you the stuff. It's free. Just use it, but dress it up with your name, but explain what you do for people like them. Help them feel comfortable and be transparent about it. Also, you might want to identify, when are the times that people usually bring you into the fold? Sometimes that's different for plan giving specialists compared to major gifts, because plan giving often has people will make changes at the end of their life but explain when the timing is usually right for others. How I help people like you. You should have a process, whether it's bullet pointed or even you sketch it out and you have or get someone to make a graphic for you. Be like, first we do this, then we do this. Like, really, first I ask you lots of questions about your life story and your values and such. Then I show you a menu of initiatives and programs. I ask you how you might want to get more deeply involved and connected. Maybe you want to meet the researchers. Maybe you want to meet some program staff out in the field. Maybe you want to volunteer, right? So describe that process as succinctly as possible so they can see it and understand what the journey looks like. So again, because many of these wealthy people they're bruised. They're like, when is the ambush coming? When's the dog and pony show coming? When are they going to just ask me for money? So, okay, next this is very important. Why you can only work with a limited number of people. I won't get into this deeply, not right now, but you really should be working intensely with only about 40 to 45 people. I have gone through tons and tons of research from the most successful people in the field. They all come to the same conclusion that 150 is the wrong number. 400 and all that is nuts. 40 to 45 is all. If you do this process and you have 40 to 45 people who opt into working with you intently, transparently on a major transformational or gift of consequence, I should call it, you can only do that with 40 to 45 people, tops. And if you're in a leadership position, you have other duties, no way, maybe half that or less. So you have to explain to the donor that it is because of the past donations of other amazing people that you have a salary that allows you to go out and work with people so intently and give them the valuable experience that they deserve. And you really work hard at it. And you really try for all 40, 45 people. So, and this process takes time, lots of meetings. Sometimes I have to meet with your family members. Sometimes I have to meet with your wealth manager. Sometimes it's fine. I'm happy to do it. I'm here for you. But just remember that it's because of the goodwill and the dollars of past donors that I'm here to do this with you. So that brings us to some other things, which I'll get to in a second. Why people like you trust me. So MarketSmart, when we sell to people, we have to provide testimonials or referrals, references, sorry, not referrals. So you might want to have those handy. That'll make them feel more comfortable about going on this journey with you. You may want to include in this little packet, like the Donor Bill of Rights or AFP's Code of Ethics. I also think that it's great that AFP is looking into creating a fundraiser Bill of Rights, essentially, and they should probably create a donor code of ethics. I mean, too many times I've heard, especially women, young women, just being treated very, very poorly is probably the nicest way to say it, from older and usually male donors. I mean, that's not okay. It should be in the packet. Like, sorry, but this is the way I'm going to act. This is the way you're going to act. This is not a free for all just because you're paying for, yeah, I think you all probably know what I'm talking about. So, you should also point out what you can do if you feel that you want to pause the process or remove yourself for it, and almost borderline encourage them. Like, look, remember, my salary is paid from the goodwill and good donations of past donors. Please don't jerk me around, essentially, is what you're saying. You know, if you want to opt out, just opt out, because then I can put someone else in this position to work with me. Because it's not fair to the past donors who pay my salary for me to be jerked around. I know you say it a lot nicer than that, but that's the idea. So you'll also point out that you're gonna, you have sort of rights in this, and you're an ethical human being. So if you find that what they want doesn't match what your organization can do, and I'm sure you have acceptance policies for this as well, but let them know that what they want might not be a good fit. And if it's not quite right, you're going to let them know. And number 10, the final one is, in the end, what we should expect from one another is a fair, transparent, open, collaborative, mutually beneficial exchange of value that will occur within 24 months. So I'm going to lay a proposal when you feel it's right. I'm going to lay a proposal in front of you, not do a solicitation. I hate that phrase. We're going to work on a proposal together, and it would be best if we conclude it within 24 months, unless there's some unforeseen circumstances. But most people conclude within 24 months. And remembering that my salary is paid by the past donors, it's really important that we try to stay on schedule and get that done. I hope that's well received by you, Ms. Donor, Mr. Donor, so-and-so, but there. So that's the longest introduction I've ever had in Mastermind Mixer. Oh, okay, there is a little graphic there of like, just print it out. Don't make it a fancy brochure, just print it out, go through it with them and then leave it behind for them, little packet. And I say not glossy because these people don't want glossy. They want transparency, right? So with that, I'm going to exit out of this, and then my Trisha's on vacation. So my good pal Curtis is going to help us with this. I'm sorry, why did I call you Curtis? It's Justin today. Justin, we don't even have anyone who works for us named Curtis. Why did I say that? We used to. Anyway, Justin, please take us away into groups. What we're going to do, don't do it yet. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what I just told you, kind of behind my back. I mean, I'll see Golan going in there, but go ahead and mix it up. Say I'm nuts. Say you don't like it. Say you think donors will react poorly, or say that you think it's pretty interesting and you may want to try it. And then we're going to come back after 15 minutes and we're going to hear the brave ones that want to share what they learned from others and what they think. And then we'll break and we'll go away and we'll go raise some money. All right. So Justin, take us away. All right. Sorry, I'm late getting back. I just, my group was complimenting me. So I don't know if that's the way it is in the other groups. I was a little nervous, but yeah, so we've got about 7 minutes left. We're a little behind schedule because I talked too much, but what kind of thoughts y'all have? What did you talk about? Anybody want to bravely stand up and tell us what you were thinking?
I'm going to jump in because we had a great group, fantastic work in our little team there. So it was brought up the importance of gaining trust with those donors when you have so much turnover within the organization. So those relationships are being built with fundraisers who have left, and how important it is to take that time to invite those donors to get to know you, and even more importantly, get to know the organization, so they are really understanding how important the mission is, that will transfer over to their passion also. So that was a really great point that was brought up in our team.
What came up? Like, do you all get it out on the table and say, look, I know I'm the third one. I know. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for even meeting with me. Yeah, I mean, like, what do you do in that situation? I mean, I would put it on the table. Personally, I would tell them, like, I'm sorry, but I'm here. I'm gonna do this with you. You know?
Yeah,
like,
Greg, I have had several occasions because of turnover, and where that's absolutely what I say to the people. Some people are, a little leery. Some people will then, if you keep up, slowly trying, then it's fine. Others, is like, I'm done. I'll contribute, but I'm not going to make a big gift. I'm done with, going on any further journey. So.
Yeah, I get it. There's a book right now, actually, if you can stand to read it, called Philanthropy Revolution, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is from a donor who gives millions of dollars away, and she's pissed. I thought I was a pissed off donor. That's why I wrote my book, right? If y'all know my story, but I don't have the kind of money she has. I mean, her husband like invented 3D whatever, got hundreds of $1 million. So, okay, what else? I mean, ticking down, issue of building trust from, do you mind if I read this, Jill, I guess?
No, or I could say it myself.
Oh.
Our most important referral source is our cancer center physicians and researchers. And when they see people cycling through, they're like, you're the third person I've seen this 2-year period or whatever. Or even if we're adjusting portfolios, so somebody's newly working with them. And that's, I think, exactly what you said, Greg. And what it also brought me to is your process that in our group we thought was great. We can do the exact same thing with them. This is what I do with people like you. This is why I'm valuable to your patients who express an interest in giving. And I think we do, but I love the rigor of bringing it to this level, and look forward to getting the slides.
Yeah, and by the way, I mentioned to my small group, I am working with a few customers so far on instituting this process, because I only gave you one small sliver of it. For now, we're calling it the Engagement Fundraising Operating System. It's like you go from DOS to what is this now? It's not the Apple OS, but it is a different operating system. It's very different. It turns everything upside down and inside out and backwards. But the people that are doing it with me right now, they are finding these diamonds in the rough. And they are working on really consequential gifts, not transactional. So if you're interested, just reach out to me, and I'll either put together a little working group, or we'll do it one-on-one. I'm looking to test this out and fix any problems in the beta that me and Dr. James and others missed, because he's got his ivory tower. I'm in my ivory tower. You people do the work. And as I was saying to my group, you deserve a better system that lets you be the fundraisers you want to be. And I think if a better system were provided, not by administrators that don't know what they're doing, or consultants that are just trying to get some cash, and do the same damn thing that they've been doing for 50 years, I think the turnover problem will go away. Not entirely, but that's my goal. See how I get on my soapbox so quick? Anybody got any final thoughts? We got about 2 minutes. Well, then I'll round it out by just
I was
saying,
just gonna say,
go
I
ahead,
think too,
please.
like with the combination of transparency and maybe turnover, if you're working on a team where there are multiple people working on giving, I think that could be part of the process too, is just saying, this is me, and you might hear from some other people. I'm, lucky to work in an organization that has a large fundraising team. And so that is part of what we talk about is like, this is me. And like, you're also going to hear from Tiffany, and like, Tiffany's wonderful. And, having that way, we're really working more towards stewarding a relationship with the organization rather than necessarily like the individual. And I think both are valuable.
So that's an interesting point, and I hope you all don't mind me staying over another minute, because I want to point out where Dr. James gets into that in the training, is he says, look, here's the cast of characters in this setting. And he recommends that you introduce additional characters to the hero as needed. Right? Along the journey. First you meet R2-D2, then you meet C-3PO, then you meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Then you meet Yoda. And not everybody is a guide, but there's Yoda, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's Mace Windu. For any of you who aren't Star Wars fans, I'm sorry. But there's lots of guides. And if the more you introduce them to more characters in the story, the more it actually won't matter if there's turnover, because now in fact, I'm looking at Sherry and Jeff and people on my team. Like, if you're a MarketSmart customer, you went through this. First, you kind of got to know me through the webinars and stuff and the book, and then you get to meet Sherry, and then maybe there's another person, and then you meet Jeff, and then you meet like Cheryl or Rachel, all these other different people in the staff. It actually worked. I don't know. What do you think? A lot of smiles. All right, so if anybody, a couple last things, I'll wrap this up. Number one is, if you want me to send you versions of this invitation-like thing that you might want to change up and put your name in it and print it out, edit it, do whatever you want with it, just let us know. You can email me if you've seen my email, gwarner, GWARNER, at iMarketSmart, or go to info@. Also, I want to make it a practice to ask you politely and genuinely that if you have friends at other organizations that are in pain and want to be a better fundraiser, if only they had better information, donor self-qualified data, please tell them to come to us. We need more customers, okay? Jeff's not busy enough, but we've done so much technology wise that the platform wasn't able to handle that many customers. So we never did marketing and all that. We're ready now. So you haven't seen us at conferences and all that, and we probably won't go, but we're actually finally ready to massively grow. So I'm saying, send us your tired and beat up and weary fundraisers, and we won't pressure them, but we really need more. Yeah, okay, thank you. And I know a lot of you are referrals for us. Last thing is, don't forget, you can invite any of your staff, volunteers, board members to these. If you got value out of it, shout it out, bring them. They will not pick on you as much when I tell them not to. So there. That's all I got for today. It's really great seeing all your smiling faces.